live, which is great. Yeah, we'll just wait a few minutes for
Can you hear that
people to
annoying
join the chat.
drilling in the background, or is it all right?
It's faint. Have you got some works going on in around the house?
Or the neighbours do? I'm just gonna
Oh wow,
switch. Okay,
that's annoying
okay.
for
I think we're
you.
better. I can hear you now.
You can hear me. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can hear it, but it's like it's not too overpowering. So,
Okay.
hopefully they don't like go on forever. So it'll be fine. Um, but how? Let's talk about you first. How's your day? How's this morning been? Before we get into anything too serious.
It's been a pretty crazy morning. Dropped my two daughters at school and just been doing admin today before chatting with you. Yeah.
How old are your daughters?
They are 6 and 4. Yeah.
Ah, that's awesome. So have
Yeah.
they had they missed any school or anything like that in recent times, or has it been not too bad?
No, it's been pretty normal, back to normal here in Sydney. Yeah. So
Ah, that's awesome.
yeah.
I'm just waiting for us to actually officially go on live because it popped up in the window that you're looking. Can you see
Mm.
us? Has it popped up yet?
Yep, I can see
You can see
us.
us.
The weird
Okay,
delay.
cool. Yeah, yeah. I think maybe the notification hasn't gone out. It sometimes can take a weird amount of time. Actually, you know what? I'll tweet. I'll do that while we're waiting for people to join.
Okay.
Um,
I can see
okay.
numbers going up. I don't know if that's
Oh, cool. Yeah, might just the notification might have just gone out. Are you on Twitter?
I am. I can't
I'll
remember if
tag
I'm
you.
Boudist. I think I'm at Boudist.
Oh yeah, found you.
Yeah.
I'll tweet this little link so if there's anyone watching on Twitter, they can pop on as well. Duh, duh, duh. All right, we did that. Great. And yeah, I haven't seen the official notification go out now, but look, I'm assuming it's going to happen soon. And we'll have some people join the chat hopefully, which would be really great.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so you guys are having a little bit of a weird case number increase at the moment in Sydney.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the notification. I just saw it go out now, so we should probably
Okay,
have some
cool.
people join soon.
Yeah, it's a bit of a, anxiety-provoking time with case numbers going up again. Um, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah,
Mm.
you guys, I feel like because you haven't had like a massive outbreak like we did in Melbourne. You've only had like these little sporadic things. Did you guys? You had a total city lockdown at the very start last year,
At the
but
very,
there
at the
hasn't
very
been any
beginning.
other.
No, we
Yeah, it
haven't
hasn't been any other
been through
ones.
anything like what Melbourne had. We have had it much easier by comparison. So, and our Gladys, our premier, doesn't seem to be as gung ho about lockdowns as
The lockdowns.
Victoria. So I think they're going
Yeah,
to try
it's
and
so
avoid it.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, I really hope that they do. I hope that they do everything to avoid lockdowns. I was very pro lockdown last year. I think when our
Mm.
cases were so high, when we were at 700 a day, and it was definitely deemed necessary. And
Yeah,
the last couple of ones, I've probably not been. I mean, I go along with everything that the government says that we should do,
yeah,
but I think it's been harder to. The last two especially have been harder to take for sure. Like it's
yeah.
really affected people mentally, and
Oh, yeah,
um, it feels like you just can't relax ever.
yeah.
It's just like you're constantly
I know.
on
And you start
eggshells.
doom scrolling every day. I'm like scrolling things like, oh God, what's happening now? And
Yeah,
it's
I
just not a
got
nice headspace
really.
to be in.
It's not a good headspace to be in. I got very like I would know when the case numbers would come out every
Yeah,
day. I'd be looking at
yeah.
the Twitter. I'd be really obsessed with like your whole day would revolve
Oh, no,
around those things. And like you said, it's not a healthy way to live.
no,
But
I
it's
don't
just
like it.
like what are the? It's kind of like what I don't know what our alternatives are at the moment. It's like we're in such a good position
Mm,
in comparatively, but then there's so many other indicators that we're not like, especially when it comes to travel and stuff like that.
yeah,
What up,
true.
Benny? Nice to see you in the chat. Good to see you here. Do you do much traveling usually, like both domestic and internationally for your work?
I do usually do several domestic trips a year for different jobs, but it's not the be all and end all for my work. So
Mm.
domestic travel or international travel isn't going to affect my work too much. Um, yeah, but obviously photography is very person to person related. So stuff's already getting cancelled just because people
It's
have
so
anxiety.
true. Yeah, like we were just saying before, I just need to update my guest thing to you, not to the person I had on last time. So I'm just going to do that. We were just
Okay.
talking about that before, about how the anxiety, it really it takes over. I think from, even if you've had a small lockdown, it like continues for weeks and weeks or months. Sometimes it
Mm,
just really takes us a long time to kind of get cracking again, which is like really frustrating.
mm.
Okay, you can follow him here. I'm just going to pop your Instagram so people can follow
Okay.
you. Okay, there we go. Just updated that. Still got Jay, who we had on last week. I forgot to update that, so that's all done now. But we've got Benny in the chat. Really nice to see you here, Benny, today. We are just about to get into our interview properly now that it looks like the notification's gone out and we're all good. But I think maybe we'll start with a little bit of a background about yourself.
Mm.
We're going to have a look at some of your work while we're scrolling through. But are you born and raised in Sydney, or where are you from originally? Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about kind of growing up and stuff.
Yeah. Born and raised in Sydney. Um, Never intended or never imagined becoming a photographer. It was not something I even knew would have dreamed of being a job. Um,
Mm.
I did a communications degree at uni, and from there went into doing websites and web design and that sort of thing. Um, but like
Ah,
always loved
yes.
photography, but it wasn't like I was, obsessed from a young age and couldn't, it was always my career goal. It was always just like a hobby goal. But then, after uni, I just started becoming more obsessed with it, and that's where it took off in uni. It's probably once I got like my first digital camera and started delving into that world, and it was also a pre social media ubiquity world. Like Instagram didn't exist
Yeah.
back in my kind of early 20s. So
What
there was,
year? Like, are we talking like early 2000s kind of
yeah, sort
era?
of
Yep.
early 2000s is
Mm.
where it kind of started for me. I think I got my first SLR kind of 2003, 2004, or maybe,
Mm.
I don't know, somewhere around that time, maybe a bit later. But before that, I was just shooting with little pocket digital cameras. And also, yeah, I was just really into the music scene. So I was shooting a lot of concerts, but these are just like my friends' small gigs. They're just like crappy little things.
Yeah. Yeah. Then so, did you kind of find your footing kind of within the music industry to start out, or did you start? Yeah, I guess where did you start your kind of career? I know you as a music photographer, like that's how I
Mm,
know you, but you've obviously branched out to do so many things since then. But
mm.
in the beginning, was it a lot of kind of friends and music work?
Oh yeah, it was 100% that. It started just by me taking my camera to shows for my own interest. It then I started shooting the odd thing for street press. Um,
Ah, yep.
and I don't know if you remember in street press, they also used to do like social galleries, like there would be party
Yes.
photos in there before
Yeah, totally.
before before Facebook and everything was so ubiquitous. You used to like there was always a photographer at the parties and like clubs and things, and I
Yes.
did a little bit of that work. I became the regular photographer at a party in Sydney called Purple Sneakers, and so I was there I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, but I was there every week taking party photos at that. And I had no idea what I was really doing photography wise, but it was a really good learning ground for me to get comfortable using my camera and get comfortable talking to strangers and that sort of thing.
Yes.
So it was a mix
Yes.
of live stuff,
Yep.
um, and then it also became like party photos, but then it also became band press shots as well, as bands who saw my pictures were like, "Oh, Dan, can you take our press shots as well?" And I really had no idea what I was doing back then, but you fumble your way through it.
Yeah, absolutely. What up to Gypsy J and I Spy Cosplay? Good to see you guys in the chat as well. We've got Daniel Boud here, amazing photographer from Sydney. We're just talking about his early years kind of in the music scene. I Spy saying, I'd love to do press shots. I've seen I Spy's work. He's really, really incredible photographer and would be very capable of doing press shots for artists without a doubt. It kind of leads me to like the next question actually. I think a lot of people struggle with that next step in terms of like, how do you do that? Did you find that was just like a natural progression of the people that you were hanging around with essentially? Because that was definitely my experience. It wasn't like trying to go out and get clients. It was literally just shooting for your mates, like your mates' bands and,
Yeah,
stuff like
100%.
that.
I was definitely not a hustler in any sense of the word. I just, things came to me, and when they did, I jumped on them and I would say yes to anything that came my way. But I wasn't like being a super promoter and pushing myself on other people at that stage of my career. I was just reacting to what happened naturally. So it started off just friends asking me to do it, and that felt very comfortable because they knew what sort of level I was. They weren't expecting me to be some big shot. They were like, we're comfortable with Dan, he's cheap or free, and
Yes.
and so we'll have a little experiment together, and that felt like a comfortable place for me to work in at that time. I think if someone outside of my social network asked me to do something, I would have been extremely intimidated. I probably would have said yes, just because I think it's a good attitude to have, but it's definitely more comfortable when you're starting out to be with friends and people who know where you're at, and so there's not kind of unrealistic expectations.
I feel too like when it's friends, like you have a little bit more leeway to either experiment or get it wrong a little bit. Like there's less pressure on you because it's not this big client that's paying lots of money that you have to deliver. Like if you fuck it up, it's like not that big of a deal in the early stages.
Totally. That's a wonderful place to be in, is that when you're allowed to fail. That's a really healthy thing to help you learn.
Absolutely. What up, Georgia? Nice to see you here. She said she's really inspired by your work. I'm not surprised. Dan has been, I think, inspiring to pretty much everyone in the music industry that I know for a number of different reasons. So I absolutely feel that.
I feel like I was like the generation just prior to a lot of the new generation. And prior to me, there was people like Tony Mott, who I looked up at, and he was a bit of a legend of the scene. And now, there's a new generation, and it is generational. And but there was a period in the 2000s where I was, in the 2010s as well, where I was a lot more active on the internet, and I had a blog, and I would write articles. There was no such thing as Twitch back then, but I would, I'd write articles and share as much knowledge as I could. I mean, as I've gotten older, I'm always happy to share stuff, but it's just not. It doesn't come as naturally to kind of be as active as like yourself, people like yourself are.
No, but it's so funny that you say that, because your early blog post was actually it was one of the first things first and only things that I remember finding available in terms of information. And also recently, when I was creating my masterclass for music photography, was something that I referred to in terms of like, what did people need to know? Like what were we searching for? Like what was the information that we were so desperately trying to find? And then kind of build on that into a whole kind of course, because there was just nothing. There's like nothing out there for young music photographers. Like you would definitely appreciate this. Like you kind of had to learn what to do by making mistakes, or somebody telling you off because you were wearing the wrong thing, or do you remember any situations like that, like where you just kind of, I don't know, I remember like undercharging something like ridiculous, and then finding out later and you're like, oh my god, like I could have charged 3 times the amount or something.
Actually, charging is to be honest, still to this day, charging is still a minefield, and it still confounds me. But
True.
uh, and I guess charging is one of those one things because people are still reluctant to be too precise online about it. Everyone online is happy to say, I use these settings, this is my shutter speed, this is my ISO, this is my lighting setup. People are still a bit shy about saying, and this is what I got paid. It's
Yeah.
one thing that is still hard
I can
to get
I can tell you
online.
I'm not my Discord and Twitch community will know I'm really open about that stuff, and it's something with the masterclass I tried to provide a guide, so like a range of prices of, and I spoke to a lot of people at different levels saying,
Mm.
if you're in your first few years, what would you charge for a gig versus what do you charge now? So there's like realistic expectations of what people should be getting when they first start out, but also aspirational. Like you can be getting up to this amount if you keep at
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And just trying to take away some of the mystery, I think,
yeah,
around our
yeah,
industry, which was just like so hard when you first started out.
yeah. I think one thing I learned really early was that I was never going to make a living on live music photography. It's the press shots. If you want to stay in the music world, it's press shots is where
Yes.
you make much better money and where you can actually
Yes.
earn a reasonable rate.
Yes.
Like if you're
Completely
just
agree.
shooting live shows, you're never going to earn enough to make a decent living. But the press shots is what has much more value and is can earn you a decent fee.
Yes. Welcome to the stream, Berg. Just saw you join. Thanks for joining us today. Completely agree, and it's the advice that I often give. Live music is usually what gets you sucked in and really
Mm,
obsessed with music photography. The press shots and album covers and that sort of stuff is what'll pay the bills, what'll actually
yeah,
allow you to have a career. But I find also, I do you agree that they kind of work hand in hand anyway, because you're starting to know, you get to know the people through the industry through
a hun-
both.
absolutely.
Yeah, whether you're working for press shots or live, you can work for them in the other realm.
Yeah, it's some types of photography people pigeonhole you and like, oh, you're a live shooter, so we won't
Mm.
get you to shoot press shots, or you're an event shooter, so we won't get you to shoot, something else. But in the music industry, I think people are more all-rounders, and so there's a history of people who are good live shooters who are also good portrait
Mm.
photographers. Um, I remember Kane Hibbard was another one when we were starting out. He was always great at both.
Kane. I
Um,
still haven't convinced Kane to come on yet, but hopefully I will at some point. Yeah, he's one that I definitely was very inspired by at the start for sure.
yeah, he felt like we were on a similar path, and he was doing both. But yeah, I think you're right. In the music world, you can do both, and even like legends like Danny Clinch in the US, like he still does both, and he does them both
Mm.
really well.
Yeah. I think if you relate to musicians, it kind of, like you said, just goes hand in hand. You like being around those people, so you end up navigating and working out a way to keep working
Mm,
with them across whether it's
yeah,
live music or whatever.
yeah,
So let's go back to where we're talking about. I think what I loved that you were saying was that you were working in like clubs, Purple Sneakers, and that was getting you used to kind of dealing with people and working with them on that. Was that helping to give you confidence to work with people in a portrait environment? Because I know a lot of people find that a struggle. It's like actually connecting with people because that's really a big part of what we do.
yeah. It's very true, and I am a naturally shy um, person. It didn't come naturally at all for me to engage with strangers. Um, I'm, introvert by nature. So, and I remember working in clubs. I used to have quite a few drinks before I could have the confidence to approach people and ask for a picture. It was just too intimidating for me. Um, but through that perseverance and through just repetition so many times, I, I, it became more normal to me and
Mm.
more natural for me to engage with strangers. And now it's completely fine. I don't have any anxiety at all about, working with strangers or directing people I've just met. But it is a really important part of, especially if you want to do press photos, not just live photos, you have to get really comfortable with talking to people you've just met and giving them direction, and telling them what to do, basically. The early press photos for most people are pretty bad because they're too shy to direct the people. So the people in the photos just look awkward because they're like, this is a really uncomfortable, awkward situation, and the photographer is awkward, and it's just a terrible recipe. But you kind of have to go through that process a few times to learn that about giving more precise direction and feeling comfortable.
Oh, I love that. We've got Jordan Munns in the chat. Nice to see you, Jordan. Good to see you, absolute legend. And Devon
Jordan
as well.
Is another
so good to
legend.
see.
And
he is a
Jordan
legend.
Is amazing at live photos, and I'm seeing him start to dip his toes into portraits as well, and he's doing a great job. He's definitely going to be, a big star of the future for sure.
Absolutely agree.
I mean, he's a star. Absolutely. Like in the live music game, he's
the guy. He's the man.
And it's only a matter of time before he kind of climbs the mountain of press pictures as well.
Yes,
if he wants
I
to.
Agree.
He may not want to do that, but...
I've definitely seen that's the direction he's starting to take. So, completely agree with you there. What up, Joshua? Nice to see you here as well. 80, good to see you here. Let's talk a little bit about first of all, I love that you you're talking about how you're introverted. You really had to push through to deal with people, because so many people say to me, oh, it's really easy for you. You're a people person, you're extroverted. And it is. Like, I love people. It's actually, I find that part of it, that's the easiest part of photography for me. I find the technical stuff really difficult for me. So I think it's really nice to hear from someone that doesn't come so naturally that you've actually had to work at it, but it's really important, and it's really evident that you are really great at it now, because there's such a great connection with the people that you photograph. So it's possible.
It is possible. It's just repetition, practice, and feeling confident in yourself. So to be honest, I don't even think about the technical side of what I'm doing anymore, because the technical side is just in there. Yeah. So it means when I'm shooting, I can be much more just present to deal with the person I'm photographing. And I now often think I really enjoy what I do just because I get to meet amazing people and have amazing conversations. And the photos are often just a nice souvenir of that conversation. And it's, as a naturally shy person, it's amazing how I really appreciate how the camera gives me that opportunity to talk to fascinating people that I wouldn't have if it wasn't for my job.
Oh, I love that so much. That's such a great point. And I definitely agree too with the technical side of things does become, it's kind of like driving a manual car. You do it so often that you don't think about it after a while. Totally. It's a thing that you do, and you can really focus on, Wounded Monk, welcome to the stream. You can really focus on connecting with the people that you're shooting. But it does take, you really do need to do a lot of shoots before it starts to become kind of second nature. So there's a message in that. They're talking about this particular shot that we're looking in this one. I Spy just said, how many strobes are in that shot? That's a great question. I'd love to know that as well.
Oh, the one. Okay, I'm just looking at that. That's a really funny. I'm well done for picking that up. There is a lot. I think there was probably like 6 or something.
Oh my god.
I actually I hired a generator because there's no power out there, and I wanted to have my flash was really powerful. So I had a generator, and I plugged a battery pack into the generator. So there was 2 lights coming off the battery pack, and then there was probably, actually there might not have been 6, but there's probably at least 4 or 5. And then I had my battery lights. I've got some Profoto battery powered lights that I also added to that.
Just a lot of light, basically. You're just pumping a lot of light in there. Because it's backlit as well. So I definitely was asking, I was like, Either you've got a massive like reflector that's just huge in front of them, or there's a
Yeah,
lot of a lot of strobes. So
there was a lot of strobes that day.
yeah, that's great. Um, Such a great shot. I love your group shots. Actually, there's we've actually looked at a couple of them. There's something about, I don't know. There's a way that you pose people and a natural, lovely progression of
Yeah,
people that's really
to be honest,
nice.
I really don't like photographing groups. It's so hard
Oh, really?
because it's
It
like,
is hard.
yeah,
It's so hard.
you would know just from photographing bands. It's like every person you add into a shot increases the likelihood of that shot stuffing up, because the more
Yes.
people you put in the shot, the more people are to look dumb. Someone's looking
Yeah.
looking wrong. So it's like, I
Yes.
love photographing solo artists. It's so much easier than photographing
Yes.
bands.
Or duos. Duos at the most. I
Yeah,
find
duos.
not
Yeah.
only is there not only is it an extra person to look dumb, just from an energy point of view, because I work really big off energy and vibes. If one person's energy is a bit off, it can actually affect the whole group. And you would know this with
Yeah.
bands. There's always
Right.
one person that doesn't want to be there on the day, and it's just
Uh,
like, oh, you're working to win them over. Like, come on,
I-
this is for everybody.
it's yeah. I was actually someone I can't remember who I was talking. I was talking to someone about a shoot I did with Faith No More, and
Ah,
it was
yes.
such a bummer. Like Mike Patton was a real jerk to me, and he was just didn't want to be there,
Oh,
and he was just bringing the whole vibe down. And I could almost see the other band members were just sweet and
we're
adorable and
fine.
compliant,
Yeah.
and he was just mouthing off and making things difficult. And it was just
Oh
like,
God,
oh, just
makes
killed
it
the
so
vibe.
hard. Yes, yes, I've definitely had that experience as well. I have, yeah. I think makes you work so much harder. Like I always get to a point where I think I can win anybody over, but God, it can take a lot of work. It can
Yeah.
take what every trick that you've got. It's so
Uh-huh.
hard.
And at the
Yeah,
end of
and
that
also I
shoot,
think
well, the Mike Patton one, at the end of the shoot, he like put his arm around me and like goes, "Yeah, you did good, kid." Like he was like, it was like he was just
it
testing.
was like a test.
I
Yes,
know. It
I've
was. I
also
felt like,
experienced
how
that.
did you put me through that? It's.
Just a test.
It was like he was
Oh my
aware
God.
of being a jerk, and he just was enjoying it. But I felt like his
Yes.
bandmates were embarrassed by it as well. But because he's the
Yeah.
singer, they can't
Yes.
be like, pull your head in, Mike, because he's got more power.
Absolutely. Devon's asked a great question. Do you take any inspiration from classical paintings or painters? That's a great question.
It is a good question. Uh, Not consciously, but the more I shoot, the more I find myself being drawn to quite beautiful, classic, simple light setups that are kind of reminiscent of just classical window light coming in from the side.
Yeah.
Not trying to trick things up too much, which does kind of become more like classical painting sort of pictures.
Yeah. Jordan's just said, I wish someone had told me when I started out that when you have larger groups, especially with styling and multiple looks, that you need more than with one or two people. So, like, don't book half a day. You definitely need more time the more people there are, for sure.
Yeah, it's so true. Especially, yeah, if they have to get changed between each setup and do, fix their hair and whatnot. It's like,
Yeah, it can
time
take.
just blows out when you've got more people.
Yeah, especially with makeup. Like, if it's there's a lot of women that need to change looks
Yeah.
and stuff, like that process can really take a long
Oh.
time. Way more time than you think that would actually take.
Definitely.
What up, Shelley? Nice to see you here. What do you think? Did you consider a photo shoot that was like your big break, or where you think people started to notice your work a little more? Was there something that you were like, yeah, I've arrived?
I still don't think I've arrived, but I mean,
That's hilarious.
I feel like once I started making a living out of it, that was a type of arriving.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
yeah, in those early days, there's two things that I remember that felt like a bit of a break at the time. One was I got the cover of Drum Media, which was the sort of main street press in Sydney. I got a portrait shoot with In Excess. Sadly, it was not Michael Hutchence In Excess, it was JD Fortune In Excess, but still, it felt like a bit of a break to me. to photograph a band with that sort of status and for it to go on the cover of Street Press.
Yep.
And the other one was when I was still working in web design, I went to South by Southwest, the festival, because it's not just a music festival, it's an interactive conference as well. So I went there for work to the interactive conference and took my camera and stuck around to shoot some bands afterwards. And then Spin magazine in the US bought a bunch of pictures of me after they saw them online. And that felt like a bit of a break as well, because all of a sudden I had the status of having some pictures published in a US music magazine like that.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Can you name what you would think is your career highlight or favorite kind of client that you've worked? Which is, I know, is really hard. I one of those questions I don't love because it's really hard to name. But most people are interested to see what people think.
In recent years, I've really enjoyed, like, I don't do as much music as I used to, and I've moved more into theatre and dance and that sort of world. And I've loved working with clients like Bangara, which is a dance company here in Sydney. And we've worked together for, I think, 4 years or something now, and I've done their campaigns. And I feel so privileged to work with them, and I feel like we make beautiful work together.
Yes, I'm pulling up your work with them now, actually. So, yeah.
And it's just like a dream client, like photographing dancers, working with their creative team who, can build beautiful sets and costumes and things like that. So that's a career highlight.
Awesome. I'd love to know, for those who don't know that live outside of Australia, Bangara is an Indigenous dance company that's, they're based in Sydney, aren't they? Do they have other... I think they're just based in Sydney.
They tour a lot, so
yep.
Every time they create a show, that usually travels around Australia and sometimes internationally.
Yep. What up, Jeff? Nice to see you here as well. I'd love to know, with your work with Bangara, is this a collaborative thing, or do they give you creative freedom when it comes to creating the photographs for the show, or is it within the kind of the themes of whatever the show's about? I'd love to know the creative process behind this stuff, because it's like mind-blowing.
Each one is different. Like the one you've got on screen there, that's for their
I'll go back.
show called Sandsong.
Yep. Yep.
And that was a conversation between me and Stephen Page, who's run the company for forever, and Jacob Nash, who's like their head of design. And they had this idea for a background that sort of mimicked the earth. And what this shoot was so exciting to me is that Jake and the set design department created that background. They just made it for the photo shoot, and it's just so beautiful.
There's almost like it does look like the earth, but there's almost like this beautiful metallic vibe to it as well. It just gives it, it's like I don't know, it's probably just the way you've lit it so beautifully, but it's it really comes to life. It's really stunning.
It used, I can't remember what it was called, but he used this fabric that's sort of semi-transparent, so it's actually lit from behind.
Oh, I can see that now.
There's a light behind it shining through it, which is illuminating the background.
Amazing. So amazing.
Yeah. And then if you go to the next shot, I think you went to it before. That's the same background. We just pulled it down and crumpled it up.
Oh wow, crumpled it up and then shot it. How did you shoot that? Is it on a ladder, or are you over the top?
Overhead shots now. I set up a sort of, it's actually almost similar to a paper roll stand. So you have two light stands and a pole across, and then I clamp my camera to the pole and then tether the camera to my laptop. So I'm on the ground.
That's a smart way of doing it.
Capture one.
Because anytime I've tried to do these overhead shots like on a ladder, it just doesn't work. Like there's something about you're too close. Yeah, that's a good tip. I love that.
And that way you can get completely over their heads, and there's no weird.
There's no weird perspective. Yes. Yeah. I think that's been the issue, that it's always been some weird, like slightly off. It's not over the top.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you about, I think what, anybody that knows your work knows that you're just so great with dramatic lighting. Just such a beautiful way of lighting sets. Was that something that came naturally to you? Did you have to work for a long time to get really good at lighting? Because I know that's always a bit of a barrier for people as well. It's like, though, it can feel complicated, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I think I was just really bad at it for a long time until I wasn't bad at it anymore. My wife Sibel is a photographer as well, and we
we're trying to get her on as well. So
yeah, and for years I felt like I was just nipping at her coattails because she was always. I felt like she was much better at me, the lighting part, but because I had someone better than me in such close proximity, it really made me force myself to keep getting better and to look at what she was doing and be like, oh, that's a cool technique. Maybe I'll steal that one. And so it was always trying harder and harder to get better at it.
Yeah.
And now I think, like, honestly, I don't know. Like I said before, I don't actually think about it too much anymore. Because it doesn't intimidate me anymore. I'm just look at a picture and be like, oh yeah, put the light here, there, and I don't overly think about it anymore. But I do like dramatic light. It's just if you're going to light something, make it
do it well, make it stand out. I have almost the exact same experience of just really, really sucking at it and just working so hard in the studio, and also now being able to look at a photo and go, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I know how that's lit, and you can kind of semi-replicate stuff, or at least it just takes a lot of repetition. Jeff just said Sibel is so fucked good at everything. She absolutely is, and we're trying to get her on here as well, so we'll hopefully chat to her about her amazing career as well. Did you know that I didn't know you guys were married until I was recently at the Nikon conference with her like a few months ago? I had no idea. I don't know why I didn't put that I've known you separately.
We post lots of selfies of ourselves together on the internet.
I don't know why it just completely, I was like, wait, what? How did I not know this? I just felt like I totally missed the memo.
But it is part of both of our origin stories, because when we met, neither of us were photographers. We were doing other things. She was an architecture student and I was a web designer, and it was because we were both forming a relationship and both obsessed with photography. It was like this catalyst for us to keep getting better, and also I think naturally we're a bit competitive, so there's a bit of one each time, like, oh wow, she did something amazing, I better up my ante, and that, I think that really helped our careers.
I love that so much because before I was a photographer, my husband's actually a filmmaker, so we used to always do this thing called photo of the day. We're very competitive naturally as well. We used to go on holidays and have this photo of the day competition where we'd have these little point and shoots, and it would be about getting the best photo. And I was so competitive because he was the filmmaker, he was the guy that was creative, and I wasn't. So I'd always try and beat him. And that's how he noticed that I had a natural inclination to photography. He noticed it through kind of that. And then ended up buying me a camera and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, very similar.
Because he set a standard quite high, it forced you to get your standard high too, right?
Absolutely.
It's really good to have someone with high standards. I mean, if it's too high, you just get turned off because it's impossible to reach that standard. But it is also helpful to have someone to make you, keep lifting your game.
Absolutely, and he's definitely that for me. So I love that you guys are the same. I think that's so cool. What up, Chloe? Jeff's actually asked a question which I was going to ask a little bit later, but we can ask about it now. He specifically talked about the photo that you just did with Julia, and I think it's in your it might be in the front page.
I did put that online for you yesterday.
Let's find that photo and talk about this, because this is one thing I like about it, because Julia originally asked me who I thought was a great photographer in Sydney, and I did mention you. So I'm hoping that I was a slight catalyst to this happening, because this is friggin' amazing. This happened. Maybe you tell the story. So was Julia approached to do it, and then she had to work out a way because of COVID
Mm.
This is a
This has actually
collaboration.
happened twice now. The first one was with another artist, um, and yeah, basically Julia was booked to do a shoot. She had the whole concept, uh, and was ready to go, and then Melbourne lockdown happened,
Mm.
and so she kind of had to. And the artists were based in Sydney, so they couldn't travel to her in Melbourne. Um, so yeah, we had this collaboration where she had the concept. She does these amazing little stick figure concept
Yeah,
drawings.
the little drawings. Yeah.
Yeah, and so she had the concept and basically just described it to me, and I then found a space and you know did the shoot in Sydney, and then she did all the post production
The
in
post.
Melbourne, and it's honestly so rewarding. I really enjoyed, especially this last one. It felt like even
Mm.
more of um, a collaboration because the Peking duck shoot. Uh, I actually dialed her in on Zoom while I was doing the shoot in Capture One
Ah,
and screen
awesome.
shared, so she could literally see the Capture One screen. And in Capture One, you can also do like a live video feed, so she could see the band. She could give them live direction. She could be like, "Okay, Ruben, move your left foot a little bit to the right, and no, turn your head that way." And so she could. For that one, I was more like a camera operator or something because
Mm.
she was even able to direct the band from Victoria. And so I just shot them on a blue background and lit it. And then Julia, I don't know how she does it, but she she created that fantasy world around them.
Yeah, she's we were talking about her the other day. I don't even regard Julia as a photographer. She's just
Mm.
a creative genius artist
Yeah,
that happens to take photos occasionally.
yeah.
She's just sort of like
She's a whole
what she
nother
does,
level
I don't.
for
It's
her.
just a whole nother
Yeah.
level. Yeah, absolutely. I think what I really love about this is it really does to me have your signature lighting vibe about it. That's why I do see it as a really beautiful collaboration
Oh,
between
good.
the two. There's something really dynamic about the lighting in this shot that I just
Yeah.
absolutely adore. Oh, that's Jeff just said the same thing. They just yeah, I agree. I completely agree. It really lifts it to a different level with that lighting, and then Julia's come in and created this. It's just the most perfect collaboration I think I've ever seen. It's so and I think also goes to show like if you want to get stuff done in and there are restrictions and we've all had to think laterally about how to do stuff, and this is the best example that I've seen of that working really really well. It's people getting creative and working together, and the
Mm.
outcome is this. And then I think it was on a billboard in Times Square last week or
I
something, which I
know.
saw, which is
Insane, isn't it?
phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. So,
Yeah.
so cool. As somebody, Jeff said the Imogen one is more amazing. I don't know if I've seen that one or if I've forgotten about that one
Oh yeah, I
potentially.
think I also just put that online. If you go to maybe the portraits, oh no, maybe advertising and covers. I can't remember which section it's in.
I'll have a look. We'll
Yeah.
see if we can find it.
Oh yeah, there it's loading. Yeah,
Ah, there
yeah,
it
it's the
is.
one with
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
vines.
Yeah. It is loading very slow. My internet's usually a little bit faster than this. I don't know what's going on. It's
I don't
like
know, blame your
this
internet
is
or
this
blame
is like
Squarespace.
this is like dial up. This is like back in the day.
Yeah.
We've got half an image.
Oh, great.
Hopefully it'll. Hopefully, oh here we go. Here we go. Oh my god, this is literally how it used to be like kids. If you want to know what dial up was like, it was like this. I actually don't think I've seen this photo, so it'd be cool
Oh
to
yeah.
There we
This
go.
was the first
There we go.
time that Julia and I did this collaboration like this.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, the same deal. I photographed Imogen, and It was cool. I shot there's a studio in Sydney called Sydney Prop Studios,
Mm.
and originally Julia said, "Oh, just find some rope, and then I'll turn it into vines in post production." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know how you do that, but I trust you." But then I
Yeah,
was shooting in a prop
yeah.
studio, and they had all these plastic vines in the prop place, and so
Oh
I was
wow.
like, "Why don't we just shoot the vines for real?" And so
Yeah.
I did wrap her in vines and had two people on either side of her, like holding it up.
Holding it
Um,
up. Yep.
yeah, but then Julia also embellished it in her post production as well,
So she
to
added some
create that
vines and stuff as well.
yeah. But
So awesome.
in terms of especially in press shots and so many pictures, I think the real art is in the concept. And so that's why Julia is on a whole nother level to so many photographers, is because she can dream up these incredible concepts. And so
Yes.
many of the best artists in history are not necessarily technically the best, but they have the best ideas. And
Yeah.
that's so important. And it's where Julia excels. I mean, she's amazing at the execution because she does it all herself, but it's almost her ideas are what stands her apart.
Yeah, everything's really unique with her. Like it's every concept takes it to a new level, and it's unique for each artist as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, would get so intimidated by that process. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it's a completely different process.
You would probably experience this as well. But if say a musician or an artist comes to you and says, "Oh, we need 6 looks," and you say like, "Okay, have you got any ideas?" And they're like, "No, that's your job." And I'm like,
Yeah.
No, that is a nightmare
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, same.
I can't work in a vacuum. You need to give me at least the germ of some ideas for me to then take to create some concepts out of. If an artist doesn't have any idea what they want, that's like a recipe for disaster for me.
I completely agree. I work the same way. It's always like some type of beginning from the artist. Even if it's like 2 or 3 photos, at least you know direction and there's somewhere to take it. If you have nothing, I'd just be like, I don't know if I could work with this. This is really tricky.
No,
but then
that would be a worry. I'd rather sort of walk away than deliver something that's not going to be correct for them.
Yeah.
And you see that with some artists as well. They keep chopping and changing their image over the years. Like they do a shoot and then it's like, oh, you're this sort of artist. And then they change their minds. No, I'm that sort of artist. And then they change their minds again. And it's not a good recipe for a career if the artist themselves doesn't understand visually how they want to be presented.
That's why I think specifically music is a true collaboration. It's like the artist needs to know at least what the beginnings of something that they want, and then we need to bring that to life. I find it difficult when they have absolutely no idea at all. That's really tricky. Jeff has said a boring question about Dan's lighting. Does he use heaps of flags and diffusion? Does he shape light a lot beyond softboxes? And he said, surely.
Do I use heaps of flags and diffusion? No, I don't really use flags and diffusion. To be honest, most of my setups now are 2 lights. One light from the probably usually top left or top right, and that's usually just a small octabox or beauty dish. And then from behind me, I have a soft fill with a large umbrella, or I have a Photek soft light, and that just fills in the shadows. I would say it's a bit boring, but like probably 80% of my shots are lit very similar to that. One light from the top right, a soft fill, and that's it.
That's so funny because about 80% of mine is one light. One light with a poly board that's like bounces light into.
Yeah. The ones doing essentially what my soft
essentially what the
doing.
Yeah, totally. It's funny because it's like the ones that gets like people will, when they show you your own work as a reference, it's the one that's referenced the most. They're like, I love this, and it's like, oh yeah, that's my easy one light setup. And it's like this thing we can totally do that.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah, Jordan just says, always blows my mind seeing your work and then hearing you talk in such a down-to-earth way about lighting in the process. You're too humble. A true technical king.
Sometimes.
I think that, do you think that sometimes people think that lighting is more complicated than it actually is?
I'm sure they do, yeah.
Yeah, same.
Sometimes I have like assistants come and help on shoots who are just sort of junior and starting out assistants, and I say to them, what I think you will learn from this is that you don't, like, this is simple. Like, you are ready to do this. I hope it sort of what's the word? Like, it takes the intimidation factor out of it. It's like, oh, they'll look at, oh, that's it. Like, that Dan wasn't doing anything I can't do myself.
Yes, 1,000%. I've had almost the exact same experience with assistants, or sometimes it's like I don't. It's more observing because there's not much to assist because there's like literally two lights that are just like.
Yeah.
But like observe that it is quite simple and
Yeah.
it's just practice to know and get the confidence to know, I guess, where to put the lights and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, the one you've got on screen there, sometimes I feel like I just throw more lights in just for the sake of it.
Just for
But
fun.
that was a shoot I was doing for the Australian Ballet, and they didn't want those colours. They just had a really simple setup. I think it was a sort of soft blue. And then at the end of the shoot, I'm like, oh, can I just get one for me? And I kind of started to gel the lights a little bit and kind of create something a bit more colourful.
Bit fun. Yeah.
And that's what.
And does that have an overhead kind of softbox as well with that one? There seems to be like a softer light.
Yeah.
From the top. Yeah.
Honestly, my memory's really bad, but
yeah,
it does look like I probably had a boom with an overhead light for that one because it's very toppy.
Yeah, that's something I actually really like to do with this type of lighting is actually whenever there's those coloured lightings that you're using from the side is just to light the top really softly, so it just gives that face a really lovely illumination, I guess, that's not, sometimes the colour when it's like that half and half, it gives the skin a really weird colour, but if you light it like this, it's a lot more natural and really beautiful. So I love that shot.
I went through a gel phase where I just was like gel everything.
We all did that, didn't we?
I think I'm toning it down a bit in my more recent years. I like to be a bit more subtle with it. And I find I am still gelling lights, but often they're just subtle, soft light, a bit of color in the fill, or I'm just gelling it with like white balance modifiers, not actual like completely unrealistic color.
I spy nothing's wrong with gels at all. We just you all go through the phase where you like overuse them and then you pull them back. It's like It's just a thing that when you first get them, it's like, oh, I got a new gel light for Christmas. I'm gonna like put it in everything, and then you pull it back. They're amazing. I use them for a lot of shoots. I've got some LEDs that I definitely use quite a lot. Welcome to Obsidian Flower as well. Thank you for joining the stream. Shelley said I'm going to have to watch this back. No worries, Shelley. Thanks for being here. Super appreciate it. Hash, thank you so much for the subby. Almost a year of loving it. 9-month subby. Haven't seen you in ages, Hash. Good to see you here. I'd love to talk to you about some of your... this is a really good example, actually. Kind of more long exposure work. Is this something you've did in camera, or is this a combination of stuff in post? I'd love to know how you create this type of vibe.
This one, it's a bit of it's definitely in camera.
Yeah.
Again, my memory's so bad. I shoot so many pictures and I can't remember the setups for everything. But I'm guessing I must have hired. There's this floor pack you can hire. It's called a Broncolor Scoro pack, and it allows you to set it up so every time you click the camera, it fires like multiple flashes, and you can set how many flashes and the duration between each flash. So I have used it sometimes for dance shoots so I click the button once and then it'll really quickly pop like 5 flashes. And what that essentially does is create like an in-camera multiple exposure.
Like freeze every time it flashes sort of thing.
Yeah. So
that's incredible.
Like 4 exposures in there, so I'm guessing that would have been something like that, where it fired quickly 4 times with like 0.1 of a second in between each flash. That's
amazing, because sometimes the ability of the flash to create the energy it needs to, like you've got to have a specific thing to do that, because there's not a lot of flash packs that'll allow that. It'll do it once and then needs to recharge again, and then you can go again. So
I don't own that pack, because that pack is like tens of thousands of dollars.
I bet.
So sadly, you can't do that with like most lighting systems unless you pay for or hire the more expensive ones.
Expensive, yeah. That's phenomenal. I love that effect though. I was wondering, because I thought it probably needed to be done in post because of that exact thing. So I love that exists out there though.
Yeah,
it's a possibility of doing that.
Pretty much no post on that shot. It's just in camera.
So good. Well, there's been a lot of chat about like there's, people learning how to deal with lighting and all, kind of getting over those confidence barriers. Do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome and, thinking that you're kind of not good enough or whatever, or comparing yourself to other people? And I guess, how do you combat that? Because I know what the answer is. We all go through
Yeah,
this shit.
all the time, all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
I browse Instagram and I just look at all these amazing photos. I'm like, oh, I'm such a amateur. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, these people are doing these incredible photos. Like Jeff, who's on the chat there, I look at Jeff's photos. I'm like, how the hell does he do that? And he's got such a
He's so
beautiful,
amazing.
consistent, lush, dreamy look to his photos. I'm like, I could never do that. I don't know how he does it. And I mean, the same with Julia. Like, I look at these people and I'm like, it depends what sort of headspace I'm in. Like, sometimes I'm in a negative headspace and I think, I'm a complete fraud. And sometimes I'm in a more positive headspace and I'm like, it's cool how they can do something I can't do, but there's space for all of in this photography thing.
Yes, that's a more positive way of looking at it. I think, I definitely can resonate with that.
Positive headspace, that's how I can read it. And same with imposter syndrome when I'm doing shoots. These days I've done enough, like a live shoot, I don't get imposter syndrome. It just is, I feel completely comfortable in that situation. Also largely because so much of it is outside of my control. So it takes so much of the pressure off me, because it's like, I'm not doing the lighting, I'm not directing it, I'm just documenting. So I feel really comfortable in that situation. If I have to control everything, that's where the intimidation factor comes in. And I feel like, oh God, I'm going to stuff this up, or I'm not going to meet my expectations. But at the same time, I also feel so much more rewarded out of that process, because there's so much of me in that picture as opposed to a live picture.
Absolutely. Like, you can really take on your own style and, whenever you're working kind of one-on-one with clients, which is really cool. Love that. Any questions for Dan as well? Please feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll have a bit of time for questions in a minute. Tell Dan he's the best and I love him 3000. I will tell him that, Jeff. That's amazing. Have you got advice, I guess, for emerging photographers in, building those clients at the first few years when you're really you're trying to establish yourself? What's the motivation, I guess, to continue? Because it feels like such a big mountain when you're starting out. It feels like unattainable, I think.
It does. And I think when I was starting out, for so long I didn't entertain the idea of doing it for a living. It was just a hobby that I was really into. So in some ways that took the pressure off, because I could just enjoy each shoot for what it was, and it felt like a win. It wasn't like, oh, but I haven't gotten to this level, because everything that I did was just this big win. But yeah, in terms of advice, I guess you don't have to rush into it. Often, like, I had a day job doing it for so many years before I did it for a living, and that's okay. That's where you've got to learn. And when you don't have to rely on it to earn your living, that's kind of gives you more freedom.
Yeah, the pressure's off a little bit too when it's when it's like that.
Yeah, but as you know, and we all know, it's also just about building networks, and that takes time, and it takes chance encounters. There's so much chance involved in our careers, who we might meet. Like, when I used to photograph parties at Purple Sneakers, it was just me shooting party photos, but it also allowed me to meet lots of people who then went on to offer me jobs. And you never know where your next exciting assignment's going to come from. It could be just some chance encounter.
That's so true. And just being front of mind sometimes, which is like, it does mean you have to kind of put yourself out there and meet
Mm.
different people, but, telling people that, that's what you do or what you want to do as well. So people think of you when there's a project coming up or whatever, I think is really handy.
Good.
Jeff has a specific question about this Peter Garrett shot. He just said, was this with a flag or modifier on this particular shot?
I love his specificity.
he's
Um,
very he's very specific.
I know I'm happy to talk technical.
Mm.
This one, I hired this modifier. I think it's called a pulso spot, something or other. It's this modifier that you can put different shapes in front of the light, and
Cool.
so it sort of just fires the flash in that shape, and so you can have like stripes or dots, and one of the shapes was just a single one line,
Cool. And
and
then you had to
so
get it in the right spot.
yeah, you can put the modeling light on to kind of line it up in the right spot.
Yep. Yep.
So the main light is that light with that modifier
Yep.
on, and then there's just a blue gel filling the whole scene that kind of illuminates all the shadows.
That's very cool. I said I was thinking it was an old school overhead projector. It would be possible to do that actually with a projector, probably, if you just like barn doored
Yeah,
it.
actually, that's funny. I didn't make this connection before, but if you go to portraits,
Yep.
I did a shoot with Midnight Oil. Like that Peter Garrett shot, it's probably almost 10 years old. It's like
Oh,
after,
wow.
when Midnight Oil was on hiatus. Um,
So I'll scroll
um,
down.
but just this year, I did some pictures with Midnight Oil. Um, it's it's a very red shot.
Okay.
Keep going. And I used a projector for the new Midnight Oil shots.
Projectors are so much fun to use, by the way.
Yeah,
I've used them recently for a bit of stuff, and they're just so fun to play with because it's like you can just get. Oh, there we go. This one here.
yeah, you found it.
There we go.
So
Yeah,
that's an
amazing.
example of it's the same subject with this band,
Mm.
but using a projector. And yeah, you could line it up something. Yeah, it was fun. We put a whole bunch of different images over the top of the band with the projector.
It's so, like I said, it's really, really fun to play with, and you can find so many like different images to project. And I did one with a EDM band recently, and we did a lot of like graphic kind of black and white projections, and it was just kind of rotating. So it'd rotate and we'd just shoot, and by
Mm,
chance you'd just get some freaking amazing shots just of where it was hitting it. It was almost like
yeah.
doing a live music shoot, but
Oh
within a
yeah.
portrait shoot. It was so much fun. It was kind of we were just playing, like yeah, it
Yeah.
was really cool.
It is fun.
Um, he said also if he doesn't feel as comfortable with creative directing, is it too much to think about? Would love to hear about that more. Hang on, did I read that? If he feels like he doesn't feel as comfortable creative directing, is it too much to think about? I'm not sure I totally understand that question. Um,
Oh,
maybe rephrase that, or did you?
maybe it's in
You might.
relation to when I said if a band comes to me without a clear idea of what they want visually.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I work really well with limitations. Like I work really well in a box. I don't work as well with a blank canvas.
Yeah.
Um, so I really appreciate when someone says to me, and it could just be budget. It's like, oh, we've only got X amount of dollars. I'm like, okay, cool. Then we have to do this pretty lo-fi. Um, or it could be, we've only got 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, well, cool. That
Oh
gives us a
yes.
box to
Yeah.
work in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So
There's an
in
added element of pressure with that sort of. I don't know. It's like I kind of like that as well. Like
yeah,
parameters. Give us some parameters, and then you've got to deliver. Like I would
yeah,
agree with that. That's really
yeah.
cool. Awesome. Um, I did have one last question for you. Oh yeah, just in terms of like, where do you think your work's heading? Have you like, is there some big projects or goals that you're working on at the moment? Are you looking to move into a different direction of photography? But I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of future aspirations.
Mm. Uh, I've never really been one of those people that has 5-year goals, 10-year goals, or anything like that. Everything, and in some ways, that's, like I said earlier, why every achievement is a real win, because it's like, wow, that's so cool. Like, it's not because I've never had a goal that's like completely unattainable. So it means everything I get along the way is really exciting. Um, I'm really happy with how my career has evolved to be more in theatre and dance and other performing arts. Like, I absolutely love music, but I also recognize that to some extent it's a young people's game, and that the vitality and excitement and energy that you bring to it when you're really young is an important part of it. Like, I don't have, as I've got 2 children, I don't want to be on the road on a tour. Whereas when I was younger, that would be my dream. So I'm really happy to be doing theatre and dance and that sort of thing, where it's a bit more friendly to my current position in life. But also, it's so much fun. Like, working with in that world, they're natural performers, unlike musicians.
Yeah.
Like, dancers are the best
Yes.
subject matter. Like, they just want to do something amazing for you. You give them a little germ of an idea, and then they take it to some level that you couldn't have dreamed of. And they're also really used to, like, finding their light and, doing things that are helpful for me as well.
That's such a good point. I actually started my career shooting dance and then moved into music, and there is such a different energy. Like, musicians often, not always, but often you really have to draw it out of them. It's not something that they like doing or enjoy doing, but performers and dancers are just, they're there. They want to perform all the time, and they will bring it. Like, absolutely, their absolute dream to shoot. So cool.
I've recently been working some musicals, and I find, like, musical theatre people are even that to the next level in terms of, like,
dramatic.
Do you want me to sing? Do you want me to dance? Do you want me to act? I can do whatever you like. They just, like, can do everything for you, and they just want to please you. Like, and it's so much fun to
what
work
a
with
dream. What a dream.
It's
Rather
like,
than, I don't really want to be here. I really can't be bothered. You're pulling teeth sometimes.
So many awkward musicians over the years. It's nice to not work with people like that for a change.
Oh, I mean, I started shooting Australian hip hop artists. Like, they were often the most difficult to, like, just often not really loving photo shoots, and it was it's a good way to cut your teeth though, to learn.
I remember probably the most common brief I would get for photo shoots was like, we don't want it to look like we're having our picture taken. God. It's like, I get where you're coming from, but it's a tough brief to work with. This is
because even those ones that, like, look really candid are often, like, not, like, really intricately posed. It's like, you really need everyone on board for that stuff.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Only work with dancers. Yeah, that's our advice, Jeff, for sure.
Yeah.
I start every shoot assuming the subject will be awkward. Anything more is a blessing. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I think
I still have that attitude as well.
Yes, I think that's a really good way to be, for sure. Anyway, it's been such a lovely chat with you today, Dan. I've loved it. This has been so awesome, and I've loved looking through so much of your work, and a lot of it I haven't seen before. I've seen a lot, obviously, but it's been great to work through your folio and have a look at some of the amazing stuff that you've done. Thanks, chat, for being so amazing and asking such great questions. I'm going to stick around for 5 minutes just to let you guys know what's happening with the streams. And yeah, we'll say goodbye to Dan now and talk to you really soon. Or hopefully get your lovely wife on the stream very soon.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it.
No worries. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Sorry, guys. I just saw that question as I was saying goodbye, so was a delay in that coming through. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Really appreciate all the guys and girls, I should say. Thanks for all the lively chat. Jeff, it's so lovely to see you in the chat today. Let me actually show the shot that I'm talking about, that I think is probably my favourite shot that you've taken in recent times, Jeff. Show and tell. Can I find it? Yep, I can. It's not on your page though, but I found it because it's on Eilish's page. This shot is, I think, my favourite shot that you've taken. This is ridiculous. Yo! Devon with the subby! Subby. Thank you so much, Dev Dog. Appreciate it. Sorry we missed out on the most important question. This is my favourite photo that you've taken. It's just ridiculous. So beautiful. And it's even better than this. I mean, all of this latest series that you did with her, I think is just exceptional. There's a couple from this shoot. This one here, this is yours too, isn't it? This? Ridiculous? And this one here, I think was the first. Was this the first one? This whole series. This is my favourite stuff of yours. It's so beautiful. I love it. And this one, oh my God. The single cover was the first with her at the end of the bed. Okay. Like this one. This is ridiculous. Beautiful. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Love. Also, I think seeing Eilish in a slightly different, I don't know, there's something really soft and feminine about it that I really love. Yeah. Just, I think, really, really beautiful work. So I've loved seeing this this combination of you two working together. It's been really love. The new one is way more femme. Okay, well, can't wait to see that. Super gorgeous. You can tell also that this is one of Anna's suits. So stunning. I've got one of Anna's suits. After I did her sound, her story, I treated myself to one of Anna's suits. They are everywhere. If you're not, let's just click on Anna. If you're not familiar with Anna's, she does just the most amazing, just incredible suits that are just, I've got, it's like a fully, like kind of like a floral pattern. I think I need to get another one though. It's really, all of it's just lush. Lush is the way I would describe. This one here, I messaged her about the other day. I was like, this is ridiculous. Oh my God. Velvet? The velvet suit. Oh my God, so good. Too much awesomeness. I was trying to find the one that I have, but it would have been quite a while ago. Like, I'm talking like years and years, so I think it'd be too hard to find. But it's like a full floral number. The picture of the two people in suits. There's a few of those. This one's cool. Like that one. With the red, this one. That one's cool. Oh, I like this one. This is super cool. Pouring the wine. Let's have a look. Oh, this one? Yay. That actually looks like something you would have taken. It's very much your style. Big vibes. So two people messaged you about it. Were they like, is this your shot? It's just got your lighting vibe about it, Jeff. I think, that one. Asking if it was yours, yeah. Very much your style. Maybe somebody, I don't know this photographer, maybe they were inspired. I'd die for it. I love that. That's really cool. Very cool. Well, just wanted to update on what's happening this week. I just popped in the Discord about the stream times for the rest of this week. I can't stream this Thursday because I'm doing a pilot for a new podcast that I'm doing at the same time. So no stream on Thursday. Apologies to the community about that. But on Sunday, we're doing our regular stream, creative challenge stream. For those who know the community challenge, every week we do a new theme. This week's theme, let's show the album cover that we're recreating. We're recreating an Amity Affliction album cover. You're able to basically be inspired by this and take it wherever you like. You have complete creative freedom. Just trying to find here it is here. Everyone Loves You Once You Leave Them. That's the name of the actual album cover. Can I find just a square of the, here we go. Let's open this in a new window. This is the album cover. This album cover, you're able to take inspiration from this and take it wherever you like. That's the brief. Must include a photo element of your own. That's really the only parameters. You guys can be inspired as you like by this and see where it takes you. I accidentally clicked a Clubhouse room. I always do that. The notifications are so annoying. Very keen to see what you do, Benny. Big prize. Well, it's like there's not really there is actually, there might be an overall prize. I've just got some cents and stuff this week, but one of the things was if you wanted to be in the running to shoot one of their shows, because we're going to pick people from the community regardless, but Joel said that he wanted everybody who wants to be considered for that to enter this week. So we just want everybody in the community to give this a go. And then you can be considered for when the tours come around. I think we're going to pick in each city in Australia 2 people from the community for each city, and also the ones in America as well. So just trying to get everyone involved so you have a chance to shoot at an Amity show soon this year. Very exciting. Yay, Georgia. Can't wait to see what you create. Shall be very fun. So let's see who is online at the moment. Huge, Chloe said. Just a short stream today, guys. I've got like 1 million per squillion things to catch up on, so gonna say goodbye now. We're going to check out Dance Like Butter stream, one of the collective members. Let's hang around, and I'm actually playing his music today, so we'll go and say hello to him quickly. If you've got time to stick around, would super appreciate it. Friday and Saturday will be awesome, Benny. I can't wait. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for being here. Super appreciate it. Thanks for everyone hanging out as well. If you've got time to hang around just for 5 minutes to say hi to Butter, would super appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Sunday. Big love to you all. See you.